If you're a Christian woman who wants to be in a God-honoring marriage one day, is it possible that you will meet the right guy, but it might just be the wrong time? Usually, it's the wrong time because it's the wrong guy. In other words, it's never going to be the right time if it's just not the right guy. So I do want to caution you at the beginning of this video that you don't want to be too quick to assume that, yes, this is the right guy, but it's just the wrong time. Because a lot of times people use that as an excuse to wait for somebody that they shouldn't be waiting for. With that said, there certainly are instances where you really have met the right guy, but it's just the wrong time. And we're going to talk about 4 of those instances in this video. Now, I also wanted to quickly mention, if you haven't heard, open enrollment for AGW University is available until May 20th. These relationship training courses are designed to help any Christian single person who wants to be married and glorify God in that marriage. So whether you're 20 or 60, whether you're widowed or have never dated anybody, whether you're a man or a woman, these courses work for anybody because I'm not giving you a rigid blueprint that everyone has to follow exactly, because if that was the case, this wouldn't work for everybody. Rather, I give people biblical principles, and then we talk about how to apply those principles that apply to everyone to your unique variables and situations. For more information about the current scholarship, the email coaching with me, and all the other bonuses I just don't have time to mention right now, feel free to click the link in the description of this video. Number 1, if the bad timing is necessary to bring you two together, that could be a sign that you actually have met the right guy, but it's just the wrong time. Sometimes the obstacle is actually the opportunity. The barrier is actually the path. The problem is the solution. You get what I'm saying here? So in our context, when we're applying that principle, that could mean that this bad timing between you and this man are actually being used by God to create a necessary trial, not a temptation, a necessary trial that can be used to draw you two closer together. Notice how this principle plays out in Romans 5, 3 through 4. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that sufferings produce perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. This passage obviously applies to our walk with God, and it's really about our Christian character. But it's not hard to see how these principles can easily be applied to a relationship. What if the bad timing is meant to be a form of godly suffering that produces perseverance and which leads to needed character development? While you may wish the bad timing wasn't there, God may be using this bad timing to bring you two together. Number 2, if this man possesses the first 2 biblical requirements for marriage, but lacks the 3rd biblical requirement, that could mean he is the right guy, but it's just the wrong time. So there's basically 3 main requirements when it comes to choosing a spouse. First, that person needs to be a Christian if you're a Christian. Scripture is very clear about being equally yoked. Second, that person needs to be bearing the fruits of the Spirit, which connects to the first point about being equally yoked, because anyone can say they're a Christian. A lot of times a Christian will date somebody because they say, well, yeah, I'm a Christian too, but there's no fruit in their life. And thus they actually are getting unequally yoked because they're not actually a Christian, that person. They just said they were. So they need to be a Christian. They need to be bearing the fruits of the Spirit, as all Christians are. But the 3rd requirement is they need to be able to fulfill the biblical role of a husband or a wife. So, for example, it is very possible that somebody has those first 2 requirements, but they lack the 3rd. You can be a real Christian. You can actually be bearing the fruits of the Spirit, and you can also not be ready to fulfill the biblical role of a husband or a wife. I would say that this scenario occurs most often when it comes to younger men. They may be walking with the Lord and having fruit of the Spirit in their life, but maybe they lack one of those qualities a husband needs, like being able to provide, being able to lead in a mature way when other people are depending on him, being able to protect in a way that's not overly dominating or scared, being able to pursue because he's just not confident on how to actually pursue a woman yet. All of those things don't mean he's not a Christian and he doesn't have the fruits of the Spirit. Those are more of relationship requirements, and he can certainly grow into those and then be ready. That can happen for an older man. I'm not saying it's for sure impossible for an older man to never mature, but I will say that if a guy has had plenty of time to develop into a godly husband, but he just hasn't, I would be much more cautious in giving that type of guy more time, because usually it's not a timing issue, it's actually a character issue. Number 3, if he's in a relationship with somebody else, he could be the right guy, but it just might be the wrong time. Now, to be very clear, this point does not relate to married men. If a guy's married, you should just categorize him as forever off the market. Don't entertain any ideas of maybe he'll get divorced and all that. It's just unbiblical and unwise to view a married man in that light. However, Christians should have a more nuanced view when it comes to people in a dating relationship, because that is not marriage. That is not a lifelong commitment. And it certainly is possible that the guy God has for you is dating somebody else right now. So with that said, of course you want to never try to split them up. Of course you don't want to get in the way of that relationship or do anything unloving, to have an emotional affair with this man while he's dating another woman. Obviously, you don't want to do anything like that, which would be sinful and unloving towards that couple. However, it's completely normal and natural to see a guy who has a great character and you really connect with him, and maybe you're friends and you're in a group of friends and you think, man, me and that guy would make a great couple, but he's dating somebody else. So again, that's a nuanced view. You definitely don't want to get into jealousy or envy, so you need to be careful you don't fall into that. But it's possible, it certainly has happened, that it's just the right guy but the wrong time. And number 4, if you two want to be together but life circumstances are preventing that from happening, that certainly could be the right guy, but it might just be the wrong time. This is probably the most common scenario that makes it really likely that this could be the right guy, just the wrong time, when the life circumstances are just preventing the relationship. So a good example of this would be that you and this man were connecting and headed towards a relationship, but then something happened at his work. He had to move away, and it's just very difficult for you to keep connecting with him when you two are apart. But he also told you, hey, in 6 months, I believe I'm going to be sent back to that area and I'd love to continue to connect with you. That's certainly possible. Or maybe you two are in your college age years and you have a strong connection, but you both know this just isn't the right time. You're focusing on your walk with God. You're really involved in your studies. You know that you don't want to be dating somebody for a lot of years before you'd be ready for marriage and then fall into all kinds of sexual temptation. So it's possible that maybe after you graduate, then it would be the right time with this man. Or another common scenario would be that there's an older man and woman, and one of them is recently widowed. So maybe that person will be ready to date and marry again, but obviously they just lost their spouse. So that's going to take some time to heal and for them to be ready to transition into such a radically different phase of life that they never expected. So when it comes to questions about the right man but the wrong time, there are so many variables. And that's one of the reasons I've created AGW University and these relationship training courses for Christian singles who want to be married one day. Again, the Bible doesn't give us an exact blueprint that all Christians need to follow in order to meet the man of their dreams or the woman of their dreams. Rather, the Bible gives us specific biblical principles that can be applied to all Christians that will help them meet, date, and marry the right person God may have for them if that's His will. So the deadline to enroll is May 20th, and if you enroll before that deadline, you're going to get a scholarship, 90 days of email coaching with me so I can help you on an individual level, and a bunch of other bonuses that you can learn more about by clicking the link in the description of this video.